Greetings, podsters and podlars, and welcome to Cazza and Tracy Talk Gavin and Stacey. I'm Tracy.
And I'm Caroline, aka Cazza.
And we're friends who, like Gavin and Stacey, met online in the noughties. We connected over small humour, over how life is funny in the minutiae of things, and we also found that we like to read and watch many of the same things. And one of those things was Gavin and Stacey, which is a show that also celebrates small humour as well as kindness and bluster and people being magnificently themselves in all their flawed glory. And now that the show is having one last hurrah with a final Christmas special, we thought we'd rewatch it all, remind ourselves why we loved it and find out whether we still do. So we're at Season 2, Episode 5, and it's Gwen's surprise birthday party. So let's begin with Tracy's Pracy. So in the opening part of the show, there's lots of back and forth between Billericay and Barry as we see Smithy telling Gavin about his night with Nessa the night of the KFC. We see Nessa telling Bryn about it, Pam trapped in her vegetarian lie, and Bryn almost done in with the stress of keeping the barn dance party a surprise for Gwen. The plot development starts properly when Stacey finds out that although Gavin had said they would drive down to Barry for the party in the morning, he was making different plans with Mick, Pam and Smithy and was actually planning to go down in the afternoon. Stacey is hurt and angry and catches the train down by herself and spends the day in Barry with her mum, time which includes a long conversation about how she's feeling without any real purpose to her days. Everyone gets to the hall ready for Gwen's arrival and Bryn has pulled it off. It's a surprise. When Gavin tells Stacey that he thinks they should go back to Essex that night instead of the following morning, it's the final straw for Stacey and she tells him that she's going to stay in Barry. So that's the basic plot, but what's the episode about for you?
It's going on from what we talked about last week, which is that Stacey is really sad and lonely, and I would say properly depressed by this stage. You know, she got no motivation to barely get out of bed. And Gav is not heeding it. So that's massive and that cuts under a lot. But then there's also that inkling that Smithy actually does have feelings for Nessa and that he doesn't realise that until the moment that Dave's coaches suddenly appears on the scene and gets down with her. And then obviously Bryn being a complete stress head about Gwen's party is a very large chunk of that episode. Same for you?
Yeah, I thought the hints that we get about Smithy starting to feel more fond of Nessa than he's probably admitting even to himself were nicely placed. But yeah, this is when Stacey's homesickness and yes, lack of purpose and likely kind of depression is starting to kick in. And it's also about Gavin's utter cluelessness in his approach to this, which is awful. And I think it was all summed up for me in Stacey's simple line when she said, I feel like I'm all on my own. I'm really lonely. Oh, it was so heartbreaking.
Oh, it really was.
How did you feel like this episode is faring? Was there anything kind of looking out of place after all these years?
This is a really minor niggle, but the way they just chucked their cigarette butts all over the place. Oh, my goodness, I was getting irritated with that. Come on. Or, you know, maybe it's the Australian thing too about how you could actually start a major bushfire if you just throw your ciggies around like that. It's just like, oh.
The smoking thing is so intriguing, isn't it?
Yeah. I'm sure I just chucked my ciggies around too when I was smoking.
Oh, yeah. I feel like we must have stopped smoking on the screen before the UK had, though, because I don't think there was that much smoking on screen in 2007. Okay, I'm going to look that up, actually, because... So I didn't have anything that was really like that's not standing the test of time. But to be honest, I'm already a bit tired of the fishing trip here. To me, the fishing trip is the weak link in this show. It feels so contrived, and rewatching it, I'm feeling that even like more strongly. I'm not at all intrigued by it. It just feels like something they've thrown in. I'm not convinced they knew, like they just put something in there. I don't think that they really knew what it was because it feels a bit inconsistent. So to me, it doesn't feel that authentic. However, that
might be something we talk about in episode 6, I think, because that it comes to for a lot more.
So, but I will be intrigued to see whether or not it does get resolved in the Christmas episode because to me, It's not.
I hope they leave it far behind.
Yeah.
I'm really over it.
Yeah. Oh, you are?
Oh yeah, and that I was going to discuss it in sick because that was when, because I've just watching that episode was when it all started boiling up in me. I went, you know what, this is actually
all right. Well, we'll park that, as they say.
Yeah, park that.
Do you think there was much character development going on in this episode?
I actually don't. They fleshed out Doris a bit more with that love affair with the hall hire guy, Ted. And Dave, I think, is being built up. And he's an interesting character, Dave. You know, he becomes part of the family for a while. So, no, I think that everything that was set up in the previous episode is just burbling on at this point. But not to say I didn't enjoy it, but it was just...
Yeah. So I thought it was interesting that this is really our one opportunity for insight into Gwen, and we don't really learn anything about her except that she's got an enemy, Jean, who Bryn invites. But again, that's sort of not really gone into. Like, that could be they hated each other at school or whatever.
Or that Jean's obnoxious. You never meet Jean.
Yeah.
But, you know, everyone's always having to deal with her. Oh, no, Jean's approaching her, and you're right, they didn't.
I also thought this is one of the times when I first started, I think, second-guessing Nessa a bit. So there's a scene where Nessa and Bryn sing a song that they've been rehearsing in previous episodes, and it's supposed to be dedicated to Gwen because it was Gwen and what's Gwen's husband's name?
Trevor.
Trevor. It was their favourite song. But after Bryn explains this, Nessa then dedicates it to Dave.
Yeah, that was off.
And I was like, and nobody called her out on it. And this actually does foreshadow the moment in a couple of episodes that I have, because I've watched ahead as well, where I'm not very happy with Nessa at all. Anyway, I don't know whether it was deliberate or I don't know whether they're just trying to show the growing relationship between Nessa and Dave, and I'm overthinking it.
Yeah, because I think one of the things that they're building there is that Smithy is starting, you know, and it gets started by him feeling jealous. So for her to make that public declaration about Dave was obviously important because that's the trigger for Smithy. But on the other hand, it was also really off. But Ness always treats Gwen like a doormat.
Oh, she's terrible to her.
Constantly. So I guess it's in character.
Yeah, because there was also... even earlier in that, she's like, oi, Gwen, what's occurring? Where's my omelette? Like, she does treat her like a doormat, I wonder if that's intentional. I guess it is. It's because...
Yeah, she's worse to Gwen than she is to anyone in that whole... Well, possibly Gav. She's not very nice to Gav either.
No, that's true. At the other end of the scale, have you got a moment that made your heart happy?
Well, just that touched my heart. So Stacey's sadness when she's trying to explain to a frankly stupid Gavin in that situation, really touching. And then also they gave Gwen a very, very quick moment, which is when she got the surprise and her feelings that they'd done this for her welled up. And I thought, oh, great, we're going to see. And then she went, oh, Jean, and they broke it for a comedy moment, which was just like, oh.
Yeah.
Was well done, but it was just like I wanted to have that little moment with Gwen. And then also I just loved them singing Islands in the Stream. I thought they sang it so well.
Yeah.
Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, me too. Yeah. I liked both of them a lot. And there's another moment I really liked, and it doesn't look like much, but I love when Bryn gets to the community hall and he's got all these boxes of stuff and he's opening it up ready for the party. He's got the key that the chairman of the hall's dropped around the day before. I don't know, it's kind of nothing, but it's such a small community thing, this key on this big chain and everything. It was just a really lovely reminder that they're in a small community, and you couldn't have made that moment if you didn't know what community living was like, because it's how our communities work around community halls and with the keys.
So true. It's funny because I hire halls a lot, so I didn't even, I'm so used to carrying their keys and doing it, so I didn't notice it. But you're right, that does.
And he's got all that stuff balanced. And did you have a favourite joke or a line?
It's the iconic rap to the Where's Singing for England song, which is that is that episode, and they forget they're all roboting and saying 3 lion, and Pam comes in and rescues them with the word, and the whole 4 of them, Smithy and the Shipmans, are having a fantastic time rapping it. I love that moment.
Yeah.
It's iconic.
Yep.
the ham Pam stuff I thought was very funny as well. And there was a moment where she's told Stacey that she hasn't admitted to not being vegetarian. What she's admitted to is sometimes breaking down and losing control and eating meat.
Yep.
And then Mick comes in on the end of that. So now there's this double-edged secret. Yep. So as they put the ham away, both Stacey and Mick wink at Pam. And she's dealing with two very different winks. I loved it. Bryn's American accent cracked me up.
Yep.
Bar dance. That was so funny. But the biggest laugh was the toilet brush.
Oh.
So just to give a bit of background, in Smithy and Ness's first sexual encounter, there was a usage of a toilet brush, and now apparently a season and a half on, everybody knows about it. So somebody's told, probably Gavin, and Smithy goes into his local pub and somebody has graffitied the toilet brush with the words "Smithy was here."
Yeah.
And when he said that out loud to Gavin, oh my God, I shouted with laughter. Yeah. It was so funny.
The vegetarian thing is just hilarious all the time. Always hilarious. And I love all those moments, like when they're doing their We're for England thing. All those little moments in their little entrance hall of their house are so nice and so nicely placed, because that's where everybody kind of, we're back together again. It's so well pitched. It's beautiful.
Yeah, you're right. The entranceway is really iconic in that house,
Yeah. But I also, and I know we have talked about Doris casually having sex with younger men and laughing at older women having sex. However, I love that she is casually taking this young bloke home and there's no commentary about it. There's no lingering camera shot on him. You have to meet them where they are. And that is one of the things that I really love about this show, is that they never overplay things. So, you see it, like we were talking a couple of episodes before about like Gavin's little sideways looks. They're so tiny and so small, but they're never overplayed for laughs or anything. And it's like, I don't know, there's something about the whole show, the writing and the direction and the acting, none of it's highbrow by any stretch of the imagination, but they never dumb it down. So I love that moment where, this woman, I don't know how old she is, and she's got this young piece of eye candy on her elbow. I just think, it's so good. And I don't think I even noticed it the first time. So I really enjoyed that as well.
Yeah, yes. Yeah. And also, the gag about this enemy of Gwen's being at the party.
Oh, yeah.
And you never see her and you never find out what it's about. But there's a line in a Flight of the Conchords songs, which is the hip hoppopotamus rap song. And he says, how did you get that idea? Did Steve tell you that? Steve, like this. And because I'm, partnered with the Steve, we also use that a fair bit. We're always shaking our heads going, Steve, like that. And for me, that whole Gene thing felt very like, oh, gee, like that. So I did enjoy that gag.
Yeah, I did too. Well, unfortunately, both of my questions have been answered, because I was going to ask you I can't believe you already knew this, because I was going to ask you what was the name of the eye candy of Doris's, and you already said his name.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
So did she go home with Ted?
Yeah.
Oh, because I was thinking at the end, who did she go home with? Did she go home with someone at the end of the barn dance?
Yeah.
Can't even say it, barn dance.
Oh, well, was it Ted? But it was that young kid.
Oh, no, I don't know that then.
Oh, right. Well, I don't know his name. No, do you know the one that she went home with?
No.
Oh.
When you were talking about it, I was thinking, shit, I missed that bit. How did I miss it?
Oh, you should go.
But I wasn't going to let on, and now I've been sprung.
Oh. But then I assumed, right. Well, that's a very unsuccessful question. But my question was going to be about what song they chose. But you did Islands in the Stream, because that's stuck in my mind for weeks after I'd watched this, or days anyway.
Yeah.
After I'd watched this.
They do it really well. Because there's another song that they do together where Nessa sings, I think it's later on, they do an iconic song and then she sings the low part and I thought, oh, no, because I had that in my head, I thought when they sang it together, maybe she'd do it on this. But she sang the high part and she sang it so well, and it was just fantastic. So
but now I have to go back and rewatch because I have to just work out who that young bloke was because now I can't remember who he was.
I just don't remember.
I don't think he's named, but we know who he is. And now I'm going to have to go and find out. Anyway, moving on. Have you? That's because I only write down the question. I need to write down the answer as well.
Answers. Yeah.
Because I wrote down who is, and then when you said Ted, I thought, oh, okay, cool, that's who it is.
Can you remember? There's a few different areas or groups of Gwen's friends that are invited, but that not all of them. He doesn't get much of a response. Can you remember some of the groups that Bryn invited or reached out?
Well, there was some from another town. I think
I'm going to need Pressy for more
info. Oh, right. Yeah, I know. Well, it's not well, maybe is it Cardiff? Maybe. No. Well, then I can't remember. But it is from another town. And then, no. I was so uncomfortable with all of that part of how, because, how could Gwen not have friends who were going to come to her party? I was quite upset by it. But no, I can't.
Line when Bryn just goes,
I thought she'd have more
friends. Gwen would have more friends.
Or she'd be more popular or something,
Yeah. Also, there was the Swansea lot.
Swansea, right. Okay, yeah, that was.
And then there was the Uplands crew.
What's
and
that?
Then finally, well, I don't know what Uplands is. But the final one was the Mumble Massive. Massive is one of those terms that I've heard, but I still don't really understand it. It's always the something or other massive. So no points for anyone today.
No, but I think I'd get minus points.
That seems unfair.
I'm giving myself. No, because I need to write my answers down.
Well, you do.
There's no use just writing. So we've had an episode that was about Gwen but really didn't feature much about Gwen. There's a few changes brewing as Nessa and Dave Coach's relationship is developing, and a big change as Stacey stays in Barry. So there's a lot to come in the next episode. Talk to you later, Kazlar.
Thanks, Trace La.
See ya.